Welcome everybody to the May La Plata Electric Board meeting. I'd like to start the meeting by calling it to order, and as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand with me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on our agenda is the review and approval of the agenda. I'll open the floor for a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion about the agenda?
We have had a request from Chris to postpone the CEO and staff reports until 15. He thinks he'll be here by then. So we might need to rearrange. I don't know if we want to discuss what we would like to, if we'd like to move the board of action agenda up into that space.
Sure, we'll just move that right up. And I'd also like to move that we table the discussion on the policy 108 revision. Okay, so we've got those two agenda modifications. Anything else?
So Kohler, as the movement to accept this agenda, do you have any objection to the proposed modifications, which would be to move the board action agenda up to where the CEO and staff reports would be to accommodate Chris's travel delay, and to remove the policy 108 discussion from board action agenda Roman numeral 8 capital A lowercase I.
So I don't have a problem where you mentioned that, Nicole, you said you wanted to table it.
Yeah.
I didn't know if table could happen.
I think we would just strike it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So Kohler accepts the amendments to the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Now I will move on to the safety moment. Jared?
That's me.
Okay.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
So we no longer have a fire season. We just have different levels of risk. And as we all know, these days wildfires can occur any time of the year. We continuously hear, are you fire ready? Especially this time of year, spring coming upon us, right around the corner. Feels like it's been here for a couple months now. Are you fire ready has been at the forefront of a lot of expos, a lot of meetings. But when was the last time you asked yourself, are you outage ready? This is something that many people don't think about because our reliability continues to improve. Our outages continue to decline. However, outages can still occur any time of the year for extended periods of time. So are you outage ready? So here are some tips that some people may not think about. First and foremost, most importantly, make sure your information is up to date with your Plot Electric. Because if we can't contact you, if we have the wrong information, then you are not going to be communicated to the way that we like to communicate, over communicate. So have an emergency outage kit. In that emergency outage kit, have flashlights and batteries. Try not to use candles. Those are things of the past. Try to have flashlights and batteries. Have spare charged backup devices and power supplies for cell phones, iPads, computers. They are of no use if they are not charged. Keep them charged. And have cash on hand. I know this is something that many people don't think about, but credit card machines and ATMs, they run on electricity. And if you don't have electricity, then cash on hand is going to be the only way that you can operate. One tip my granddad always told me, it's just as easy, keep the top half of your tank full as it is the bottom half. Gas stations, EV chargers, they take electricity to operate. So if there's an outage, you're not going to be able to use it. So try to keep your gas tanks full. And one last tip, that actually works great. Freeze Tupperware containers or water bottles to increase the thermal mass in your freezers. And then if you lose power, you can throw those into your fridge. It'll keep your fridge and your freezers much cooler, much longer. And then if the outage continues for an extended period, you can use it as an emergency water supply as it begins to thaw. And try to keep your doors closed on your fridges. Don't keep checking to see if the electricity's come on by seeing if the light's back on. So as you become fire ready, just another thing to think about. Are you outage ready? Thanks.
Good one.
Okay, thank you for that timely update. Now we're going to move on to our board education moment. Kirsten?
Yeah, thank you, Nicole. So today we're going to be looking at 2026-08, which is the allocation. And we're going to be looking at that resolution later today. So just going to take a moment to remind us what allocations are and especially versus retirement. So the allocation right now, we are voting to retire the allocations, which is the profits, both the operating and the non-operating margins that we made this year. We're not a for-profit company, so we have to get it back to the people who helped us make that profit, who kept that money going so that we could do the work we needed to do. So we're allocating it today. It will be paid off in the future. So that brings us to all the different ways that we deal with our past, our current, and our future members. By doing this allocation back, we're helping our present members have money in the future. We're also helping our future folks by not over allocating, because that way we don't have to raise rates. If you over allocate, if you say, let's give everything back all the time and let's give even more, you can't do that because then your future people get affected. So, and then the credits come in when we later this year, I'm not sure the timing on this, we'll say, okay, we have this much cash. Now we can pay this much money back on those things we allocated at that time. So we'll be paying money back from people who invested it 20 years ago. I'm not sure what our account is, but it tends to be a couple decades because it's long-term money. So there's allocating today, there's going to be credits, which is going to be paying in cash to those people who gave us that money to work and to shepherd many years ago. Would be doing that. And then there's the current people who we're serving all the time by making sure we don't overcharge either our future or our past members. That's my education moment.
Okay,
And it tends to be confusing, so I'm open for questions.
I have a question. When you say credits, do you mean retirement or?
Yes,
Okay,
I do.
Yeah.
I mean, retirement those credits, you retire those credits.
yes.
Thank you. I probably used the wrong term.
Yeah, no, I just wanted, because I know that's something we always need to remind ourselves, the demarcation between allocating and retiring.
Thank you.
Credits. Okay, any other questions for Kirsten? Okay, seeing none, I will move to our member comment portion of the meeting. Graham, can you please introduce this?
Thank you, Nicole. The board encourages comments about the cooperative from its members. The board will take all member comments under consideration, but it will not necessarily provide a response during the member comment period. The board asks that each participant's comments pertain to a cooperative business. Those wanting to address the board during the public comment period are granted 5 minutes to address their topics and have a timer visible on the screen. Lengthy comments to the board should be submitted in writing. Formal complaints must be filed in writing and submitted in compliance with applicable board policy. Comments from the public will be directed to the entire board, not to any individual. No personal attacks shall be allowed. Failure to follow these requirements may cause the public comment period to be terminated. Copies of our cooperative policies and procedures on public comment and filing complaints are available on the cooperative website.
Thank you for that preamble, Graham. I'll start here in the boardroom, or would you like to make a comment? Okay. Now we will move to online. Do you have any online members? Or I don't see any hands up. Okay, so seeing none, we will close the board comment period, and I will move to the consent board agenda. I will accept a motion on the consent board. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion about the consent board agenda? Okay, seeing none, that passes, or excuse me, I'll open the floor for a vote.
So I did request a couple changes to the minutes. I don't know. I got a response back that they were being looked at or something. Did those get made? Okay.
Thank you, Tim.
You mind sharing those things? I didn't see it. I didn't send it to everybody. I don't like getting all this stuff.
Is the current minutes in the board book?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you
There's
the board book from this morning, it'll have the minutes with Tim's corrections in them.
so briefly, one was a change. There was a month that was stated that I thought was incorrect, in February instead of April. And then just to account for the vote of Director Witchell or non-vote in one of the motions that occurred there. Thank you. Just clarification, but pretty minor. Thank you
Well, thank you for your thoroughness with the minutes. The record is,
for being a pain.
this is our job, so thank you.
Nicole? Thank you. I had one too, and I realized I didn't send it to the board. It was a correction on the postponing the staff presenting the framework of metrics for measuring breadth of reach. Here it says until 2027. What was decided in reading what we voted on was indefinite, not 2027. So I just asked that to be changed, and my understanding has been changed. I had to look at today's package.
Yeah, the minutes now reflect that that was postponed indefinitely.
Great, thank you.
Okay, hearing these late modifications to the minutes, I will now open the floor for a vote. All in favor of the consent agenda as presented? Any opposed? Seeing none, that passes unanimously. Now we're going to move to our CEO and staff report.
The board action.
Excuse me, board action agenda. So, any update from the Committee on Policy, John?
No.
None. Okay. Now, we will move to the Finance and Audit Committee update. I will pass the gavel over to Director Wheeler.
That was quick. Okay, let me find it in the one.
You did vote affirmative for the agenda change, right?
I did, but I didn't realize the implication.
Right.
Okay, so in the packet is the meeting report. It was held on May 14th. And if anyone has questions about the report, you can bring them up. Otherwise, there were two recommendations that the Finance and Audit Committee made with respect to one with respect to the audit presentation, and the FAC voted, the Finance and Audit Committee, or FAC, voted unanimously to recommend that the board accept the 2025 audit report as presented. Apparently, it was presented to the board in April. I wasn't here in April. And someone asked it to go back to the FAC, so we looked it over and reviewed it, and it seems quite in order. It's a very clean audit. And so that comes out of committee as a motion. So I guess at this point, we would ask for the board to vote on accepting the audit report as presented. If there are any questions or comments before that vote, please speak up now. Go ahead.
Is the auditor on with us
No.
now? Were they scheduled to be on later?
No,
Okay, so it was just during the factors.
they were there last April, in April's board meeting, and they were at the FAC
Okay.
meeting.
And at the fact, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to attend the fact, were you able to give the auditor a chance to speak to you in the executive session without Chris there? Because there's always you always ask that if they have anything they want to say. So did you guys?
No, we
Okay.
did not.
Thank you very much for letting me know.
I believe that was in April at the board meeting, though.
You guys do that? Okay.
We didn't do that.
It was offered.
It was offered.
It was offered. Super. Thank you so much. As I recall, I was on an airplane. He was having a hard time hearing stuff.
All right, all in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Any dissent or abstention? So that's unanimous. I didn't see John. John, did you vote?
I saw John.
Thank you, John. We then reviewed with Monica's assistance, the FAC Resolution 2026-08, the allocation of patronage capital. And again, the FAC voted unanimously to recommend that the board approve Resolution 2026-08, allocation of patronage capital as presented. And that's in the board packet as well. It's fairly simple. It's the margins that we generated in 2025 being allocated, as you just presented in your board education moment, to the members. So any questions on that at this point? No. Seems pretty straightforward. So let's have a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. 2026-08. Any dissent? Abstention. So that's unanimous. Maybe one other just quick note is that, hopefully quick, is that in April, we were presented with financials which are preliminary rather than final as they often have been in the past, not always. Depends on the timing of the back meeting and the timing of settling the books in the previous month. These are preliminary and will continue to be preliminary going forward in all of these presentations, as there's a different settlement procedure under our participation in the Southwest Power Pool than there was with Tri-State. So the mostly around the cost of power will be estimates. The expectation of staff at this point after 1 month, which is a way to sort of give a little, dispensation if they're a little inaccurate in this claim, is that there's maybe 1 or 2% cost adjustment that could occur for up to 120 days after the settlement of that month. And that's just part of participating in that power pool. So these are preliminary, will be probably, these were April numbers, so May, June, July, before we finally see them fully settled. Again, that's expected to be small adjustments, not large adjustments. And it's a learning curve. We're all in the midst of the steep part of it, so we will find out more as we go along. Did you want to add anything to that, Monica?
No, I think that covered it. So, yes, like you mentioned, the cost of power is an estimate right now and has 120 days, up to 120 days for resettlement. The transmission expense is also an estimate. That invoice is not even available for April services until June 1st. And so that is truly an estimate right now. But we will work with FAC in figuring out the best course on communicating to FAC as well as the board of any adjustments that come from month to month for prior period adjustments.
Questions?
Yeah, it's actually more comments. I spent 2 days with SPP 2 weeks ago at their Lighting the Way course, which used to be very good, to my understanding, and was absolutely awful. But so don't go, and I'm so glad none of you guys showed up because you would have been so angry with me. But they talked a lot about this, the different settlement times. So there's all this, the day before stuff and the bidding and all that stuff, and then the after stuff. And I'll see if there's a little clean thing to send you guys that to understand, because it does, the settlement gets smaller and smaller as you go further out, but there are many settlement periods, with the first one being 120 days. So that's SPP in action. So Tri-State's dealing with the same thing now too. Their financials are going to be not temporary, but estimates until certain time out too. So we're all dealing with this, and it's a new world. And people have been in SPP for many years, and just the Western is just coming in. I do want to give a plug on why the class was so bad. They tried to also include Markets Plus and the Western all at one time. So they just overwhelmed themselves. They also lost their senior person who's gone into operations, their senior training person. So I'm making all these excuses for a terrible class. You'll see my write-up when I haven't put it in yet. I'm still recovering.
So any other questions on the? Go ahead.
Yeah, so it sounds relatively straightforward, I mean, different, but straightforward that we'll have some sort of estimate to report, to put into the monthly financials, and then sometime in the future, that will get trued up. And as you said, I think we can bring to the board, okay, it's true. I guess my only recommendation there, and I'm sure this is part of the process, is it's true and it's this much different than the recommendation, right? So we can, number one, we can actually understand the final version of that month's financial report and understand how much variability there is, right? That, to me, that's the more important piece, is like when we see the estimated financials, do we generally think it's going to go that way? And then did it? And if it doesn't over the course of 6 months or 12 months, nothing we can do about it, right? That's the agreement we have, but at least we'll understand the potential variability there. So I guess at some point back, there's a report that says this got trued up, and I just like to see what, very clearly what that differentiation was.
Absolutely.
Duly noted.
And one
Right.
other, on a month-to-month basis, a good measurement to kind of do a ballpark if our cost of power, our kilowatts are in line, is looking at our line loss. And so if we have extreme line loss on negative or positive, that could be an indicator that our costs are that we have some big adjustments coming in the future. For April, our line loss was reported at 1.7%. So a little bit lower than our range of 3 to 4.5%. So there may be a slight adjustment, but that's a good kind of measurement right there to kind of see that, our estimates right now that we're receiving are pretty good or accurate. And so, yeah, but
Dan,
yes,
did you-
we will definitely come up with some kind of a reporting to be able to report back to the board on the true ups.
Right, we'll work out a process to show the variability or the delta between an estimate and whatever is final. Once we're familiar with it, that may take a little bit of time, but it's duly noted. We can pass that charge on to the finance.
That's exactly what I was gonna say, is that from our billing, that hasn't changed at all. We know how much we're billing our customers, so we should be buying that much power plus about 4% in losses. And so that's our sort of litmus test, or that we can sort of say, here's what's happening, that hasn't changed. And I would expect, like Monica said, we were 1.5% losses, typically 4.5%, 4% or so. So we expect a small increase in additional purchases, in the 1 to 2% range.
So you're indicating that delta could be reflected in the estimates by virtue of the line loss change from what we have traditionally had and what we were recording.
I mean,
So in this case, 1.8, I think you said, versus say 4, right? So maybe 2.2%. Something like
that's a magical system if we only have 1.8%
Yeah.
losses.
Right.
So we know that's probably physically
new
not true.
conductors.
And so that doesn't change. So that's going to be a really good indicator of how much of an adjustment we expect to see coming.
So that makes me think that the adjustment is based on how much we received from SPP, not how much they charged us for that. I know those two things are tied directly together, but our variability is the amount we received, not what we paid.
How much they said we received.
Right.
We received it.
Yeah, because you know that because we gave it
Yeah,
We did give it away, but down the line, we distributed it.
yeah, there was a calculation, and a lot of it has to do with forecast and day ahead and real time and all these things that go on. And it sounds like they're a little short in what they build us, so we can expect.
Hopeful.
Yeah.
So Monica, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
You mentioned line loss. So I know this building is part of line loss, the electricity we use in this building. And I know, and kind of from just a common sense standpoint that you lose electricity the further you send it over time. What other line losses are there? Or maybe this might be a Dan thing, I'm not sure. You happened to bring it up, so that's why I sent you. Okay, can I ask the table in the back?
Sure. So it's also, a lot of losses happen at the transformer as well. So at the substation transformer, there's losses. At the distribution transformer, there's losses.
It's the heat.
And there's a squaring of losses that occur with the increase of load. So the more load we have, they increase exponentially.
Okay.
So during the winter, our average for the year might be 4%, the winter might be 6%, and the rest of the year might be 3.5%.
Because we have more load in
Yep.
the winter, okay. Do we also see anybody stealing electricity? And it's
yeah.
too hard to see.
Yeah, that would, it happens. We've caught a couple of things a year, maybe. But it would be pretty hard to detect.
Okay.
There's a lot of advanced measures in our AMI metering system that can tell us if the meter's been flipped upside down and other things that go on, but.
Okay, so it's so tiny, not really, let's not make a special effort to go out and do it, and I'm not suggesting we do it. It's more in when we do the transformers and the conductors and the substations, and every time we have to transform it, it's gonna lose something.
And we have granularity too, with the insight with the package we have from Canoe. We know how much leaves each feeder and what the AMIs sum together to be on that feeder. And we know, there's typically this much losses per feeder. So if one stands out, that gives us a little more granularity of we better dig into that.
Okay.
We're gonna move us along if possible. So any other questions? We also reviewed the Form 7, just as a note. There's no approval needed. It is what it is. So anything else in the Finance Committee? Go ahead.
Yeah, the cost of power down 8% against budget, and revenue was down because it was so warm. So the 8% against budget is because we budgeted with old assumptions, or it's just.
We've realized greater savings
Right.
from the switch to Southwest Power Pool.
Than we thought we would.
Yes,
Okay, excellent, love that answer.
that's primarily it. Is that correct? It's
Nice answer.
Dan will say yes.
20.
So, that's 1 month's data. It's not a trend.
Absolutely.
But should that continue, it could have a really strong effect on our margins for the year. And I think that's worth applauding in about 3 months. Thank you. Good to point it out. Anyone else? Good. Okay, thank you, Nicole.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Let's move on to board action agenda item C. We're going to appoint a voting delegate and alternate to the CFC conference. Do we do a motion first and then?
Before we do that, I want to just ask, the schedule of this is conflicts with our own board meeting. So the 17th of June is a board meeting for us. That's when we typically elect officers as well after an election. And I would like to understand whether you would be sending a board member away who could be important, more important for them to be here at this board meeting or not, which would lead to, do we need a delegate question? So.
And just for context, is there staff going?
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah, but they'll be back.
Chris will be going, so he won't be here for the board meeting.
She said he'll be back at that.
So I think there's a question there. That we
Yeah.
should answer.
Yeah, I have never been to a CFC thing. I'm not sure what the, do we need a board member as well as staff?
Haven't we historically set staff?
Yeah,
No, we haven't done that.
last year in New York, we definitely said staff.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Call it
Yeah, I went. Staff.
to, yeah,
Kirsten.
no, I'm looking at Kohler. Kohler, your experience, does the third day anything, because the ours is the 17th, could you skip the third day if you go?
I believe so, it depends on the flights, because I'd like to put my name forward, to be a delegate again. But it'd be dependent upon those flights, because I would not want to miss our board
Board
meeting.
meeting,
in
okay.
person.
And the voting that happens the first couple of days
Yeah.
at CFC, okay, so then your duties are done, and then it's kind of that last day that you'd be missing. Okay.
That's great.
Okay, so understanding on scheduling, and just to reiterate what I heard you say is you'd like to put your name forward, but if you're unable to get a flight back in time, you would prioritize being at the board meeting versus going to CFC.
That's correct.
Does anybody historically know it or in the future know, is virtual attendance, virtual voting an option for this?
CFC.
CFC?
That's a good question.
I know it's not an APCA and kind of under that harm.
Yeah, I would speculate that it's not, but I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I think Nick or Janelle and I will have to look into what the sort of pre-registration information we get. We might get a proxy ballot that we can submit rather than having somebody vote in person. I'd have to think of that.
Yeah, I mean, you get to look at the schedule to understand what missing their third day of the 17th means, that kind of thing. There's nothing in the packet that speaks to that to them.
So would the safe thing to be is get a nominee,
Can't hear you.
get it on there. Would the safe thing to be is to go ahead and appoint somebody, and if it ends up not working because of either the schedule or because of needs or because it's virtual, then they don't go, as opposed to not. Can we go ahead and do that, Madam Chair?
I'd like to hear a motion.
I'd move that we send Kohler McGinnis as the voting delegate to the CFC. June 15th to 17th.
We have a motion,
Second.
seconded by Dusty. Any further discussion about this delegation?
I mean, could have Chris as the alternate, but as for a delegate, Chris is gonna be there. You don't know.
Friendly amendment? Add Chris as the alternate?
Do you accept the friendly amendment?
Yeah.
Okay, and, yep, okay. So we've got the motion of sending Kohler with the friendly amendment of having Chris be our alternate. Any further discussion about this?
I would just ask, do we really need to send somebody?
Do we really need to send something? So Kohler, could you respond to what value you see in putting your name forward to attend this event?
There's some classes that you take that aren't part of the delegate part, which I enjoy taking, but then you get a lot of networking with the different finance people. Last year, that was a big deal, because we were really working with CFC to get things in place to transfer over, but I still think it's powerful to, get an insight of what CFC and meet some of the people that are pulling the strings. I find that very valuable as far as figuring out the financing of how we're doing and how other people are doing the same kind of thing. So that's where I find it valuable.
Okay. Any further discussion on the merit of sending someone? Sounds like it's board education and also relationship building with our financer.
Yeah, I mean, if we're having a discussion, I think there's a couple things. One is, given the conflict with the board meeting, and it's a particularly important board meeting, I think it's worth asking whether we should consider sending somebody, whether, motion notwithstanding. The other is, I think, it's like, who's the most appropriate board member to send to something like this, right? Is it, for example, the treasurer who's dealing with financial issues, things like that? Should we consider, and maybe we don't need to do that now, but if this is an important element of a relationship, is it an executive committee member that should go of some sort. Board president, treasurer, somebody like that, who is in a more suitable position within our own board to be basically making those connections and bringing them back. So yeah, the motion was made. I probably would have suggested the treasurer go, but I don't want to step on anybody's toes either. I just think it's worth a discussion around, is there an appropriate position that should attend in building that relationship with this vendor? And I think it would be very useful to have Chris's input into this. So we're having a discussion without the CEO here. And I think, that would be helpful. So maybe I don't know, find a way to gain that insight or we make a decision.
Yeah, do you want to table it until Chris gets here? Is that,
I'm sorry?
do you want to table it until Chris gets here? Is that what you're?
I think that would be helpful. I don't know.
I have a second one.
All right,
So,
I'll make that motion.
yep, so proceed to vote on tabling.
Okay, all in favor of tabling this motion? Any opposed?
John, you oppose tabling? Yes,
Okay.
okay, so John Lee opposes tabling.
John Mitchell didn't vote.
I vote.
Okay,
Okay,
didn't see your hand, sorry.
yeah, all right, so that passes 11-1. We will move that to after the CEO and
10.
staff.
Yeah,
10,
we're missing Joe.
Yeah,
Lewandowski.
yeah, 10-1. Okay, so the motion table passes 10-1. We will revisit that here after when Chris returns. So I don't know if we just maybe move straight on to reports.
I think
And
that makes sense, and I believe Chris is gonna be here just in the next couple minutes.
okay, great, let's do the reports.
So I would start with my attorney report and refer everyone to my written report and take any questions you might have.
Any questions?
any update on, sorry,
Yes.
Any update you could share on the easement work?
We're in settlement process with, I think negotiations are proceeding well. I think we're at the bargaining table with the last couple of easement situations, and I think we've had good conversations where we can find mutually agreeable. I'm very hopeful for mutually agreeable settlements in these and to be able to avoid actual litigation for most of them. So,
Does that easement work also include utilization of fiber optic?
so because it's transmission, as a matter of LPEA internal policy, we don't allow third-party attachments to transmission. So it will only be our operational fiber that is attached. It will potentially have excess fiber that we can then lease out. So yeah, we're sort of including fiber relative to the scope of fiber on this project.
So it's part of the negotiation.
Yes.
Our fiber and our electrical lines.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Including lighting it up.
Well, including the commercialization. Yeah.
Thank you.
So.
So, can I,
Mhm.
Graham, can you clarify if that's in all areas? Because I've received several calls for the Red Mesa area fiber. Does it include that area for fiber attached to poles and easements?
So we not all of our easement. I'm just sort of talking about these easements that we're acquiring right now.
I understood.
Yeah. So are you?
I mean, I don't know if I can say the plans of a certain broadband provider.
Yeah. There's there might be some third-party partnership information that we need to keep confidential, and we can bring some of that up.
Understood. That's fine. I have just received some calls. I guess there's been some letters going out to people that they're gonna be acquiring right away.
I can certainly confirm that there have been SB 107 letters sent out into the dry side area.
Okay. Oh, maybe we can discuss it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't think what I'm hearing, just as if I could speak from, I don't think Brad's aware, as some of us who've been around the board for a while, on what SB 107 is and means and so forth. And so I think maybe some kind of, explanation around that for especially for newer directors. Might be helpful for them to understand what our requirements are, why those letters go out. I mean, I get questions all the time as well, because they're not very informative letters. It's mandated by a state statute of some sort.
So we can talk about that really quickly, and maybe it's educational for members watching this. So SB 107 was passed in 2019. Is a statute that allows electric cooperatives to expand the scope of their easements. So if easement is platted as an electrical easement, the statute does a couple of things. One, it specifically includes internal operational communications for the cooperative as within the scope of electricity, right? And then it allows a cooperative to unilaterally expand the scope of an existing electrical easement to include telecommunications through this notice provision. And so basically, unless it can, can imagine sort of the different channels you can go down through a statute, but basically the idea is in order to assist the deployment of rural broadband using existing infrastructure overlays is sort of like that, you have easements have a physical width often, but they also typically have a scope of what you can do on them. Like it's a road or it's a utility line or something like that. And so if a line is dedicated solely as an electrical line, it's a way to expand that to electrical and telecommunications through a statutory notice. But you can also see easements are all kinds of things. You see a lot of platted, especially older platted subdivisions where they just say utility easement, which means electrical and water and telecommunications, gas, and all kinds of things, right? And so it really can get down into the weeds pretty quickly.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thanks for asking.
Just one slight point of clarification on that, Graham, because I'm uncertain. Did SB 107 was that actually the thing that allowed internal use of broadband? How did you describe it? The internal to LPEA, right? Prior to SB 107, operational fiber, right? The things we use to communicate with our substations. Did that become legal with SB 107, or was that legal before that?
It sort of clarified it, right? So if we only had an easement that said on its face for electricity, we can put operational fiber that we use with no commercial use, and it's what it has is created a statutory definition of the scope of electricity for all electrical easements in the state of Colorado. So if you grant an electrical easement, it comes with the electric utility's ability to put operational non-commercial fiber, right? And so then what happens, we have a lot of times significantly more fiber than we need to run our operations. So it allows us to commercialize that non-operational fiber on equitable terms. Basically, it allows us the sort of exchange that you get is we're sort of allowed to do this, but we can't be discriminatory about it either, right? And so that was, I think, a thing that a lot of the existing for-profit fiber companies were concerned about, was that co-ops would prop up a subsidiary, run it at nonprofit rates of return, and they wouldn't be able to compete with it if they just sort of gave all their preference to their subsidiary. So we're also we have to be very careful with this, that we are, that we have non-discriminatory terms for who's allowed to attach. The general idea of the statute is to try and do whatever you can to reduce barriers to fiber deployment in rural Colorado.
Who's the best person to refer folks to here?
Ryan Wagner.
Ryan.
And didn't SB 107 also allow non-co-op, or private broadband developers to utilize that easement? And that is the nature of those letters going out.
Yeah, so what happens, so what LPEA has done as a matter of policies, these are our easements in our name with our members. And so we want to be the primary point of contact. We want to be the one that the members are reaching out to and stuff like that. So if we have a third party who we're working with to help deploy this, to expand the scope of these easements, we have it go through LPEA rather than the third party, because we want these phone calls to go to Ryan Wagner. We want this to happen, right? We want people are concerned that they reach out to their LPEA director, and their LPEA director comes to the board meeting and advocates, finds out the information, who to contact at staff, and put that together that way, rather than some East Coast based for-profit fiber company. So regardless of who it is that's going to be the attacher, we want all this stuff to go through us.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I digressed,
Yeah, totally
but that was helpful.
agreed.
Second board education moment.
Totally. Okay, now let's move on to director reports.
I could speak to the roundup report real quickly. I believe that.
Could I?
Sorry, John Lee has his hand up. Sorry.
That's great. Thank you. When you talk about attachments, is that above ground attachments, or does that extend into the subsurface right away?
We've only done above ground attachments. With that, we do have some underground existing operational excess fiber that we can use that on, but it's the additional third-party attachments are all above ground.
I don't think the law allows
Yeah.
for us to trench a new.
No,
Issue that easement to somebody and they can trench. If they're trenching, they're getting their own right of way.
exactly. Yeah, I think the law is pretty much only for above ground third-party attachments. So just because it really does get down into the weeds really quickly of all the different iterations that it could be. I mean, I think we do have some existing unutilized operational fiber that is underground that we've been able to commercialize, but we're not going through and having third-party conduit going in.
All right, thank you. That's been the majority of the questions that I'd received. So thank you.
Thank you, John Lee. I'm sorry for missing your hand. Okay, so now to Dusty with roundup.
Thanks. For the March meeting, the only item that I wanted to note is that our number of roundup accounts continues to decrease, even with the push that we had for the 30-year anniversary. So we've lost on average 10 accounts per month for the last 3 months. I want to work at somewhat strategically re-upping that situation. However, we can see if we can turn that around.
What's a roundup account?
Participants, roundup account participants. So members that are participating in the program.
Oh, I see.
We're at 16,470 out of our 44,000. That's down about, it was 10 accounts per month that are dropping out and contributing to the program.
And you believe that is material?
It could amount to be something material. It's been a continued trend since I've been on the board, and we continue to lose accounts.
Do you have any sense of how much money that is 10 accounts represent?
Yeah, it's not a gross number, it's just a continued trend.
Yeah, I fully agree. The trend is troubling. I'm just trying to
The dollar amount wise, we haven't been able to fully fund any of the requests that we've had. So we're ending up having to pick and choose who gets how much, you know, it makes it tougher. There's a stronger need in the community than what we're able to contribute to. And I guess that's probably the case with every organization.
The chart that you included, which only goes through February, March, indicates a net increase of 15 in that period. So
On the dollars contributed?
no, in number of accounts.
When I'm looking at the different page, I'm on page 3, the large financials for
I'm on page 76 of 144,
packet.
and it's the roundup report, and it doesn't go through April.
I'm on page 78, round up accounts.
I think 79 is the one that you were talking about.
Yeah, mine might be a little old. I'm out of update.
It shows that chart, it shows a piece of 15.
There you
Yeah.
Oh, that's a different account then.
go. So
Oh, okay, maybe it's discrepancy in the.
maybe update.
Go ahead,
See.
Just to tag on to what Dusty said, it does seem that the funds are are less and less. We on the board, we're trying to be more creative. We do fully fund some, but some also get cut way back. So there's still a lot of benefit to the community, but the amount of funds is a concern. So thank you.
So that people get, oh, there it is.
Dusty, you got
Those
another.
numbers don't match. So I'll have to check with the charity, find out what happened. But
Just if this is helpful to historically, there was a lot of money, maybe over the last couple of years, there's been a decline in funds available. We put in a ton of, I think unclaimed capital credits or something happened during COVID and we bumped that fund up significantly and carried quite a balance for years and had been drawing down, but I sat on that board prior to that and it's pretty steady with what we've seen now. It hasn't changed, which is probably because $5,000 now is not going nearly as far as 5,000 did. I mean, no. So there's still an issue there and need is going up, especially as federal funds have gone down for support for nonprofits. So again, the core issue is more into
Yeah, and I think it's a really important part of what LPEA does and how we interface with the community. And so I applaud the creativity and any type of effort to try and maintain a significant income, right? And whether that's, I mean, rounding up to the next dollar doesn't account for inflation at all, right? It's just the pennies, right? And so it doesn't matter how big your bill is, the roundup is, plus or minus the same amount, 50 cents a month or something like that. So anything that board can think of that's creative, it makes sense that people are opting out, right? I mean, affordability is a challenge. When we get asked, do you want to give more? I think even once or twice at Craigers, I said no. And so it's happening everywhere. But I do think that our community wants to contribute. The people that are still on the other 16,000, they may be willing to do more or better. So I think the opportunity is there and it may just take a little bit of how do we do this a different way to make it still valuable? Because the people who get money from that, in my experience, I did a year or two on Roundup and I thought it was fantastic what was being accomplished there.
yeah, it's encouraging. Thanks.
Well, we don't have pennies anymore, so should we just round up nickels?
Hey, you got this creativity. Leave it to the treasurer.
Just think.
So, Dusty, I'm gonna be interested to see probably next month when we see what the effort about around the 35 years of Roundup has, because people have been asked to give an extra $35 on top. This is not gonna be reflected in your numbers yet, I don't think. It'll be interesting to see, and I hope it goes well.
Okay.
Let's see, to note my report, we just had a roundup on 5/18, and my report was also included in this same report. Different, obviously different people that applied. So if you have any questions on that.
Yours is in this one?
Mhm.
Okay, I mean, recently, like, it
Just-
didn't go out in the initial package.
Right, I think that that's probably.
Okay, right, I have 148 pages, or some people have 150, maybe, you're not hearing.
151.
Okay, thank you, I'll read down them, thank you.
Any more questions for Dusty? So I would like to follow up next month. Make sure you comment on, is there in fact a trend? And if so, if you could kind of graph that for us.
Okay.
And then also what the impact of our 30-year anniversary was.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Dusty.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the next report, we've got CREA.
Yes, so the Colorado legislature ended last week. So a lot of people are resting easy after having a pretty busy time. The wildfire liability is still a major issue, and that came up during Line Worker Appreciation Day and such, but there wasn't any legislation this year, but we're kind of all doing it for the future. I just wanted to highlight that there was a legislative conference. There's CRIMS, which is the member services, CREA member services. They also have a HR and emergency leaders programs. So these are things that CREA does that we as LPEA and our staff can take advantage of. And I think it's a really great deal. Next week, I will be up in Meeker. The CREA board meeting once a year is in a place not in Normal. And this is going to be hosted by White River Electric Association. They're the folks who had a big fire last year, lost a lot of stuff. They're the ones who have that picture of fire protectors, fire people protecting a hay bale and letting a utility pole burn. So it was a pretty tough time for them. They just in the last few weeks were able to energize their 345 kV line, which is making a big difference for them. So very, very excited to get up there, inject a little money into that community because they were really hard hit. And I'll have more on that next month. That's my CER report. Anything? And I want you to notice there is no Tri-State report this month, as you're no longer there.
Sure.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you know this or don't know this, but I know that there was a push both from yourself and from CEO Hansen to get 100% participation in the CARE organization, you know what I'm talking about there?
Yes.
The advocate.
Right, so we as a board participating, or we as every single co-op?
We as a board.
We as a board, we do not have 100%.
Okay, well, so don't know, so one more pitch that we'd love to
I
get
appreciate
100%.
that. Thank you, and I'm loving that somebody else is giving me the pitch out of the.
Wherever I can help.
I appreciate that. And.
And make it easy
although
for us.
the report I saw, I was really impressed at how many people in the leadership team, your team, are members of CARE or donate to CARE. I'm not sure what the term is, but I was very impressed, and that's really great. It speaks to you and it speaks to your entire leadership team. Thank you.
Yeah, just a reminder that is on the group text message. I was sent out after the last board meeting. So if you want to donate, it has been made easy. Anything else for Kirsten? All right, we've got Treasurer Lucian from Western United.
Thank you, and my board report's in there. Just real quick, a reminder, in the fiscal year for Western United is July 1st. And last year we were at 300 million. This year we're coming close. The budgeting was very conservative. This year I was led the budgeting discussion, and we're actually going to be more optimistic, so to speak. So we're going to try to get right on versus conservative. But what we are doing is we're going to get a $196,000 patronage check, and they're increasing the cadence up to about 5 years for the patronage versus 15 to 20 years, because they have a lot of cash. So they have a lot of credit they haven't used for a couple of years, have a lot of cash. So what the strategy there, which I thought was pretty brilliant, is lean down the cash now. But if it does come to tough times in the future, you can let that patronage go out instead of 5, 6 years, it can go out to 8 to 10 years. But you're at least not holding too much cash, which is a good thing for anybody. It means you don't know what to do with your money. So it's a very good strategy at my point. And so they're doing well. And we have expanded into Kansas City, or not Kansas City, into Kansas. And we are leasing a warehouse from a co-op. They're building a warehouse, they have the property, et cetera. So we're doing about half of Kansas right now. So if you look at the map, I always like to include the map. This is their strategy. Instead of Colorado, over the years, they have grown to multiple locations with diversification of portfolio. Colorado might be down, but Kansas City might be, or Kansas might be up, or Wyoming. And they do, just a reminder, they do bid on municipal work, and they do oil and gas work, and oil and gas work has a pretty good margin for us. I like the way they diversify, I like the way they run. Any questions? All right, thank you. Yes.
Comment, and that is going into Kansas, we're now picking up some of those co-ops,
Yes.
so our former CFO Dennis Herman is now on the Western United Board.
Yes. And I said hello to him, and he's very proactive in recruiting the other co-ops, so Dennis is an asset to Western United.
It's Dennis Savanes.
Savanes, thank you very much.
Yes.
David, was this, in your words, brilliant financial strategy hatched by the board treasurer?
No, I'm just saying on the financial strategy, that's what the board, I mean, Greg, the executive staff, the C-suite of Western United is doing a great job. And yes, I don't take credit for taking this, but I take credit that we are getting checked.
Okay, well done.
They've been doing 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
For years.
Well, it was 7 or 8, and it's been 6, 5, 4, it's actually increased a little
Okay,
bit.
you said 15, and I was like,
No, 15 with what they can go back to.
Oh, they could, okay,
Yeah.
they haven't been doing
Yeah, you don't want to sit on cash.
it. Okay,
The
right.
worst thing a large, and it's not a for profit, but the worst thing for a profit is if you have cash, you don't know what you're doing with your company. So exactly. And here it's paper. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David, thank you for that report and your service as treasurer. What is the process? When are elections happening?
So if I do get reelected, I would like to run for Western United Electric again. And the process is I go for secretary. And then the next year would be vice president, the next year would be president, and president for 2-year term when it comes up. So I like to progress up depending on when the current president rolls off, next president rolls off.
Okay.
So that's my strategy. Yeah. That's my strategy in that part.
Well, the members might have another idea.
Exactly, I might not even vote for.
Okay, we will find that out.
Yeah,
later now.
exactly.
Let's now, we've just finished the director reports. So now we're going to move back in the agenda to item 4, CEO and staff report. And I will pass this over to Chris for our division dashboard.
Great, thank you. And a very good morning to everyone. Thank you for shifting the agenda around a little bit to account for my flight cancellation last night. Little bit of pain, but there's, as all of us know, since we start in Durango and we take trips, going from small airport to small airport is the hardest thing to do with the hub and spoke system. So thanks everybody for your forbearance this morning. Yeah, looking forward to presenting the April dashboard. If folks want to go to that file, our kind of standard reminder of our mission, strategic goal, and vision. And let's jump into the KPIs. 4 areas to highlight this time. I always like to give Drew a hard time. We were aiming for 99.95 and we got to 99.88, which I think is like a couple of hours of a short outage on one of the systems. So always striving to have it above that threshold, but just under this time due to a small outage. But I don't think anything of note or concern.
Not an electrical outage.
Not an electrical outage, no, a system outage in this case. Looking at energizing tomorrow, again, just under our goal. As you may remember, this is our first year of this metric. Dan and his team did the best job they could to kind of estimate a month by month. We're dialing it in. We're basically there, but just slightly under, just a couple of installations short. And did have a chance to meet with Shaw and Company, and they are telling me lots of batteries in the pipeline with their customers. So I have no doubt that we'll be seeing strong adoption across the service territory over the next few months. And a lot of that work happens in the summer. So expecting that to bounce back up well above our target between now and the end of summer. As we go down into member engagement, I know many of you were a part of those events, and I'll highlight PowerX and a few others here in just a second. But very high participation, and you can see there almost 1,800 folks across our different programs above our target of 1,650. So very happy to see that continue at a nice clip. As we go down into the financial metrics, operating margins did dip a little bit in this last month. Again, fairly mild weather, had some late turn-ons of some of our industrial load. I don't think anything of heavy concern. The FAC took a hard look at this during the committee meeting, but we did come in just a little bit under there. Controllable expenses continue to be, I would say, well controlled. We are in a solid position as far as tracking under budget on those items. And our kind of G&A is tracking well below our budgeted expectations. So very happy on that side, but just a little bit under our margins mostly due to weather. On cash reserves, again, just slightly under that 90-day target at 87. We're trying to run that pretty lean. I mean, to David's point, trying to minimize interest expense whenever we can. And so being as close to that 90 target makes a lot of sense for the membership. And you can see there we cut it just a little too close at 87. But again, nothing, I think, that for cause for any concern. And we did cover that with the FAC in some detail. You can see the other financial metrics there in a good spot. Cash on hand just above the target. The other ratios in a very strong position compared to target. You can see the equity percent. This is kind of the first month you're seeing that adjusted level. Our target was to make sure we stay above 25. That is our covenant with CFC, is that we will stay above 25. You can see we've got plenty of headroom there. That 37 you're going to see ticking back up over time. Our strategy is to move from 37 back to about that high 40s, 50-50 mark. And that's, will happen over the next 5 to 10 years as we climb back toward kind of parity between debt and equity. So with that, let me move on to the next slide. This is our kind of standard slide on updates on safety, reliability, and excellence. A couple of things I wanted to highlight here, especially on wildfire mitigation. Really great progress by the team on integrating our Firescape AI tools and 3 additional weather stations. So you may remember from our cow discussion where we went into great detail on our plan there. That has been implemented. We are up and running. We're getting daily notifications, recommendations, and forecasts. So far so good. Obviously, we're preparing for what could be a difficult summer. I don't, as my dad would say, I don't want to borrow trouble. But we all know how dry it is in Southwest Colorado. So we are preparing for that. And one of the tools, one of the ways we could escalate our safety settings kind of to that ultimate endpoint would be a PSPS. And we've done a lot of outreach and communication on that. And I'll talk a little bit about that outreach here in just a second. But that is really being underpinned by a significant analytical capacity and a tremendous amount of new data coming in on our weather station side. So we're accessing about 7 of the public weather stations and then augmenting that with 3 weather stations that we've invested in. And we feel like we've got really high fidelity, high coverage of our service territory to feed into the Firescape tools. So I'm pleased to report that that's off and running. And a big thanks to Dan, his team, Jerry, the dispatch team, all working really hard to make that a reality. The other thing to mention here, Rafter J subdivision. You may remember last year we did spend a lot of time on Los Ranchitos as kind of a test case or a pilot project. We're taking that template and now applying it to other high-risk areas. Dan's in Rafter J, Kohler's close, so you know the situation up there. I lived up there for a while when I first got to town. And when I arrived, I could see the kind of infill of the vegetation, and we've really gotten back ahead of that in Rafter J. So I wanted to point that highlight on our wildfire mitigation plan. Of course, our up commitment. We went from about $1 million in 2023 now to about $2 million of investment in mitigation on the vegetation side. And this is the latest example of how that hard work is paying off. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Really, the big highlight on this one is the first the paragraph there where we made great progress with La Plata County. I know there was some consternation in our previous discussions about the path forward with La Plata County coming out of the zoning and rules discussion. I'm pleased to report that we are in the administrative permitting process and see a very clear step-by-step with the county, having great back and forth with the staff as we kicked off that formal process to get permits for both the solar expansion and the battery project proposal. So still distance to go, but we are in the administrative permitting process. And we see a very clear step-by-step in the months ahead. And so big kudos to the team for getting that in what I would consider the right lane when it comes to the back and forth with La Plata County. All right, let's go to empowering community. As I foreshadowed, lots of community engagement over the last month or during the month of March and April. You can see here the Community X event. A big thank you to the board directors who were able to join us in downtown Durango for that. The community engagement team, I thought, did a really wonderful job of pulling that together. We had, I think, the right venue, a great panel. We were able to feature the linemen during Lineman Appreciation Month. We were able to do some in-house surveying at the same time. We got a lot of input from members that night on important questions like power supply portfolio feedback. So I was really pleased with the engagement and the chance for our neighbors from co-ops and munis around our neighborhood to be able to come and share their story on how they have become energy independent and with a similar business model and approach to what we've now taken as of April 1st. So big thank you to everyone who made that evening such a great success.
Chris, was that recorded?
It was.
And we can see that?
I will double check if it's up on the website. I think it is.
Sorry for the interruption. I know
That's all right.
Later.
Yeah. If not, we can make it so, but I don't want to promise it if it's not there already, but I think it got posted. The other ones I wanted to point out were the outreach, especially in Archuleta County. Jerry and others really heavily engaged in talking directly with city and county officials in Archuleta around wildfire safety program writ large, but also the specifics around the conditions that may cause a PSPS. And so continued outreach on that. It's a new thing in the sense that we're bringing new tools to that work, and we'll have repeated rounds of outreach there, but just wanted to stress that engagement. And also under key accounts, you can see reaching out to now, of course, key accounts include public entities, school districts, La Plata County, Archuleta County, et cetera, but also our biggest customers, our biggest members fit into that category. And so Emily in particular taking the charge to be a part of that. And then the tabletop exercise, kind of follow-ups from that big tabletop that I talked about last month. So continued engagement there and continue to learn and communicate with each other and be ready for the summer. If we go to the next slide, this is kind of your visual aid of what I just shared and some of the highlights, especially from the PowerX event. You can see in the bottom center there, we've got the linemen and the CEOs from around the neighborhood. And so again, a big thank you to everyone who made that such a great success. All right. And our last slide is really focused on talking about our kind of member value metrics, power cost stability. I mean, this is the biggest highlight. We've previously been talking about kind of an expectation that as we went from March 31st into April 1st, we saw an immediate 22% reduction in our wholesale power costs. That was based on the data we had on April 1st, which was our Mercuria agreements, other PPAs, compared to what we were paying on March 31st. I have even better news. As a result of being an SPP in April, we redid the calculations and looked at the month of April, and wholesale prices were very low as we did balancing trades. And we actually came in at almost 26% less than we were on March 31st. So it was a little better than we expected just based on our contract data. So I think that's a really positive outcome and a great start to our relationship with the regional market. Also, the picture here, see if you can spot the two LPEA line workers in the photo. Was pleased to be able to send a couple of our crew members to be a part of that great annual event. It was always something I super enjoyed when I was there, and got to host line workers on the floor of the Senate and the House, and now a chance to return the favor, and super glad that we could be there as part of the festivities. It's kind of an annual event to celebrate, and a great chance for our line workers to swap stories and connect with their colleagues from around the state. So that's what you see going on there in the rotunda of the Capitol. With that, I think that's the last slide, and really happy to answer any questions about the dashboard. Yes, Director Wheeler.
So I have a couple, if you don't stay with me on this. One is wildfire mitigation.
Yes.
Slide 3. You mentioned wildfire action program, and I was curious. I think that's the same one that my HOA uses for a chipper rebate each year. And last year they said they were out of funds. This year they have funds, and I was curious if that is a result of LPEA making a donation.
I believe the answer is yes. Let me see if someone might be able to. Yeah, got thumbs up. You're exactly right. We had focused our philanthropic giving this year on wildfire mitigation. And one of the things it enabled was additional chipper resources for neighborhoods. And so you're spot on. That was one of the things that we helped make happen.
I wasn't quite sure, but I really think that's important for small HOAs like mine.
Yeah.
The ability to utilize something like that is really helpful and important. So kudos to LPEA, and I hope we get the word out on that. Next slide, number 4, solar expansion. Can you power export engineering standard sounds pretty important and technical. Can you give us a quick sort of primer on what that means and its impact?
Absolutely. Let me turn to Dan.
I was going to let you handle it, Chris.
I could say something with confidence, but
so this is an internal document, sort of a standard operating procedure on how we address different situations. So we've spent the last year, 2 years, really deeply analyzing every segment of our system, saying, okay, what if this happens? And this is the work that we've been working with National Lab of the Rockies on, and Sandia Labs on. And the culmination of all that to say, okay, we had this policy in our head that we don't want reverse power flow through the substation. Well, now we can be more specific and say, well, if we have that, then we do this at the substation, put this type of relay out there that will monitor the situation instead of just saying, no, we can't. Put the relay out there that monitors. If the relay starts to send us information saying, hey, we're getting close, then there's other adjustments that we can do at the substation. But it provides that insight and the data for every specific situation that we have, to where we've gone well above and beyond just the standard thou shalt not exceed minimum daytime loading on a circuit. That's what's allowing us to open up the zones within the area. There are no more red zones.
There are no more red zones.
I'm going to say there are no more red zones.
Because when I looked at the map after reading this, there were red zones.
We're going to change from red to orange.
Orange zones.
And that's going to mean that you can put solar up. You just can't export it to the grid
At certain
during certain situations, but you can put stuff out there. Now, when we get the right equipment out there, then we can, make the orange and the yellow and say yes. Now we can export to the grid, but it's under close watch type of things.
And the investment needed to make those kinds of equipment changes? Is that
it's
budgeted?
very,
Will that be next year?
it's coming with substation upgrades is what it is. It's very expensive just to go do. But with a substation upgrade where, you'll put a certain relay out there that has all sorts of functionality in it. Very expensive to do, but to enable one more function in that relay, it's a matter of flipping a switch. So it's as we get to major substation upgrades that is
So be reflected in our capital projects.
Yes.
Thank you. I think that's really good
It's
news. I mean, as I think we all have heard, red zones are making people see red, so to speak. One more, at least one more question. Member engagements, right? Appreciate this as a very full slide. Sorry, I couldn't be at PowerX. I know you came late, Chris, but do we have a new member of your staff having to do with member engagement? And could I get an introduction?
We do. I am very excited to introduce Laura Shepsis to the team. Gonna stand real quick. Laura is joining us most recently from her work at Carrier Corporation, but has a long career in the power space, including 13 years at NRECA. Time at APPEA, as well as time at EEI, which will allow that to be said out loud. That's the investor-owned group. But it was really exciting for me. I was out at doing our meetings on Capitol Hill and had a chance to meet with Senator Hickenlooper staff. And Laura was able to join me for that work. And let me just say, she knows how to find her way around the halls of Congress. So we are so thrilled that she has joined us, brings tremendous expertise and a national perspective to the work we're doing here. And Laura, a very warm welcome.
Thank you. Absolutely thrilled to be here and very excited about working with this fantastic team and such a strong board. And I'll apply those same skills of being able to navigate Congress to learning my way around the service territory, and I just can't wait to get started. Thank you.
And you can see she's off to a strong start. She's already adopted puffy vests. Just required here in LaPlata County.
So will there be some kind of formal press announcement or anything around that?
Oh, we did do an announcement via our social channels, but I had not done a press release.
Something that gives I can't remember everything you said, but
yeah,
something that provides us a textual.
Yeah, absolutely. We will,
because I haven't seen anything as a director. Just curious.
Yeah.
One other question here thank you, by the way, and this has to do with local economic development. You presented to the Region 9 Economic Development Board in your notation. Was there any discussion of broadband in that? With them around, they run the Southwest Broadband Group.
Yes.
And I was just curious if there was discussion around that and data centers and so forth in your discussion.
Yeah, the topic of broadband did not come up at that meeting. I did give a bit of an overview of kind of what I'm seeing in the data center market, and so shared with them very similar updates to what I've shared with the board. But the broadband discussion did not come up at that event.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry to monopolize.
Great.
Okay. Let's see. Well, I think the first one, I was trying to piggyback off what Tim was talking about regarding the red to orange zones. Will we be closing the loop with folks in that service territory or in those areas that had expressed interest in solar, and then they got all fired up when they got told no?
And people have been coming off the wait list.
Yeah.
Most of the people that are fired up aren't ones that are looking to put solar in.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then I think there are just a couple other little ones. I loved at the PowerX event the polling. And I know it was informal and it was casual, but still interesting data points. And so could the report out from the Mentimeter just be shared with the board, some of those questions? Because they were interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. And then
Just wanted to flag, I was at a Region 9 put together a drought, has put together a drought communications team, which then is dovetailing into a wildfire communications team. And I know all the PIOs from the entire region were there, but I didn't see LPA. And I thought that could be a good one to have the LPA just to be, because it's about shared messaging and coordinated, flag that. And then last one was zero homes on in anticipation of kind of the HERE rebates expanding. I'm curious, I think I know the answer to this, but why we're focused on a Denver-based group that's subcontracting to locals, but did we also work with the local contractors to help them engage with the work program?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I've met personally with Shaw on that topic. And so, yeah, we're really just trying to bring a chance forward for our members to take advantage of the HERE program before it expires. And there's essentially $3 million left for everything but the Front Range. And so the faster we can get members to engage, the better chance they have of getting that assistance. And so it's both scale contractors who do subcontracting as well as local contractors. Let me see if there's anything I missed.
Really what we're using zero homes for is their software and their analysis of home audit remotely makes things go much faster.
Yep, because there's a backup. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Yeah, we'll go here and then to Chrissy.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just gonna be repetitive, but I can't help but give kudos to the work that's been done on the internet connectivity issues. Never seemed with our word anymore, but that's phenomenal. I mean, I know it's been, I know the board feet staff up on that pretty substantially when we first heard the R word, and the reaction to that and sort of recovery from that and then go forward that really does give our membership what they're asking for, has with extremely low cost, right? I know we're going to continue to spend money in that realm. We have to, because we're the grid of the future and we need to be that. But what we've done with the resources available has been phenomenal. So kudos.
Chrissy.
Yeah, concerning the Power X event, I was luckily able to attend, and I was so impressed with the panel. So it was Jack Johnson from DMEA, so he's a co-op CEO. It was the gentleman from Kit Carson, Hawaii. I always forget his name. Luis, yeah, thank you. And then the gentleman from Farmington. So we had a Muni, which was just really great. Have I got them all? Who did I miss? Okay.
Yep.
And it was so good. And what I really appreciated is, and it really solidified in me why I go to events and why I go to training and stuff, is you hear other people's passion. And it was just so great to hear that and to realize, oh yeah, I'm part of this too. And it was just lovely. So I really appreciate you bringing them in. I really appreciate showing our regional ties, which was really great. And I love that I got recharged. And I hope everybody has a chance to look at the video if it's available. And everybody has a chance also to attend anything. Just get out there and see what other people are doing, because it's so cool. And we are in such a cool business. But that's my push for education today. Thank you so much, Chris.
Yeah, you. Yeah, there's a picture.
I wanted to just highlight a less positive story about member engagement so far, which was our town halls. Both the Durango and the Pagosa one had 6 members. I think between directors and staff, we outnumbered that. So, this is something we've had a very loud contingent of people asking us to do, and then nobody shows up. So it's something I think we need to think about when we look at our communication plan. One thing I did notice, having done 3 events last 6 weeks in Archuleta, all 3 of which were partnered with other organizations, the CDC, a Unitarian church, and a outdoors club. Each one of those had 50 members. So the difference between when we partner with established groups that meet regularly and have regular attendance, how much easier, and it was incredible engagement. I mean, it was a great experience. I can't recommend highly enough that directors get out and do these one-on-ones, because each one of those, they were very well attended. So I just that was something I kind of noticed. It's much easier when you partner an established thing versus when we try to do a one-off town hall that, you know, nobody has on their schedule and nobody shows up.
If
We
we,
get a lot of food that way.
Yeah.
yeah, there were some excess pastries. Just a quick note on that. I think this is really good part of our discussion as we reboot for 2027. We'll bring back an updated plan for the board to consider. But I do think the key to the town halls and the idea going into it was that we do one in each of the 4 districts, and that the 3 directors from that district would be heavily engaged in outreach to their friends and neighbors to drive participation. And I completely agree with you on partnering. We've had a bunch of success doing that. I think about the Ignacio Chamber, for example, where we did a joint event, great turnout from, you know, kind of the combined efforts. But I would ask the directors to think about that as we go into 2027. Is that a format we want to continue? If so, I think we need significant board member engagement on outreach. You know, I'm thinking we've, you know, done several of these and they've been fairly light for the most part. And so we just need to decide if we want to commit to that or go in a different direction. So, yeah.
Yeah, that matches everything we've seen. I think with the meeting that I presented at, it was a joint session where we kind of brought in LPEA presentation, but another organization that was already.
Right.
There was a lot of engagement, a lot of good discussion, a lot of follow-up discussion came from that. And we're seeing, like I've tried to go over almost all the board engagement events that we have, because you're right, it sounded like we had a big desire for that, but we just haven't seen it.
All right. Any other questions on the dashboard before we move on? Yeah, John.
So it's not coming through clearly from this discussion. What the next step here is on the communication plan. Like, okay, so do we treat the complete lack of attendance to any of our LPA initiated thing as signal that's actionable? Because I would take that signal as, okay, let's stop doing that because nobody either cares and or the format is wrong. Let's course correct them. But what I heard here was just a lot of sort of, I didn't hear clear, and therefore we do what next?
So yeah, so John, I guess to get to that directly, so we've planned 4 of these for 2026, and the plan adopted by in our budget discussion laid out our plan. I do want to, I guess, point out we're talking about 4 out of dozens of events that we do. Community X, super successful. What I think as we zero in on this format, we either need a step up in board outreach or we need to find a different format. We've got 2 left that are planned for the fall, September. So we've got a chance between now and then to decide, do we want to keep those on the calendar or do we want to give up on that format early and cancel those last 2 that are currently scheduled. But I will say, I think I don't think the format in and of itself is the wrong format. I would say we need to redouble our efforts on outreach if we want to keep those events. That's been my observation.
Okay, so are you looking for a decision on that here? Because
well, I guess I'm asking the board to consider if we're going to do the town halls in that style where it's meant to be district by district. We've got 2 more coming up that I believe are District 4 and District 2, the last 2, if I remember right, because we did 1 and
3 and 1.
1 and 3. So I believe we have 2 and 4. So I would just ask the directors from those 6 directors, is this a format you want to continue and do significant outreach as part of that work, or are those events? Do we want to call it a day on those events? Given the first 2,
I would not spend my friends and family's time attending that meeting at my request. If I asked them to, they would come with their friends. It's like, I'm not even sure. Without deliberating, well, let's deliberate it. I think that is a, I think if I compare the fact that I can reach maybe 100 people that represent my outer network, and LPA as an organization can reach 35,000 people through direct access, that asking us to use our own personal networks is not the effective way to galvanize engagement.
Well, we are doing repeated invites through our channels.
Therefore,
Yeah.
if you're using the full force and weight of LPEA to achieve that member engagement, and they got 6 people to show up, my guidance just on that fact alone would be, this isn't working, let's try something different, and cancel to address your thing directly, and cancel the upcoming board meeting.
Yeah.
Cancel the upcoming events.
And, oh, sorry, I'll let you finish.
Yeah, that was it.
And I think, John, what I was trying to point out is that our theory of the case as we went into that format, which was new for us in 2026, was that there would be significant board participation. I was not seeing that in the first 2. And I think the attendance was low. And so hear you loud and clear. It sounds like you would like to not proceed with the last 2 that are scheduled.
Yeah, and there's no criticism. There's not an implied criticism here. All I'm just seeing is a very tactical thing, which is like, is it working? Is it achieving our goals? It appears not. Course correction, option A, reach out to my personal network. Option B, kill the event. My guidance would be kill the event.
Okay. Tim?
Oh, are you ahead of me or not? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I saw his name first. So
No, it's okay. I had my hand up, but I got tired. I think I was just gonna point out just the initial understanding. I had no idea that the outreach was on us as much for ours. Because the same thing, I was like, oh, LPEA is advertising. I thought I was just supposed to show up. That was a miss. So one other alternative, you could just throw it out. I hear John's point. I think it's a good one. One thing I was thinking about is working with someone to help us develop then our own district's outreach plan. Because it might not be, to John's point, we have our friends and family network, but that might not be the target for our district. We might just need some help thinking through like who in the district are the people that have the newsletters, that have the communications channel, so that if we do one-on-one outreach to those places, they then hit all their members to know to come. So that could be.
Yeah, and I would say the other alternative here is that if we don't move forward with those town halls, we instead ask the entire board to focus on outreach for Community X, for example, which we have one in October, or Power X event. So, George Wheeler.
Yeah, I would just observe that now we have had 2. Those are 2 data points we didn't have. And we also have the experience, at least from our Gillette Academy, as a partnership. Should we pivot a little bit? There's also maybe a third data point is not a high awareness by board directors that their participation in garnering participants is critical. So can we pivot a little bit, maybe maintain those, and pivot to try and find ways to partner with something or others in that space to see if we can garner a little better participation, make them more effective, right? Learn from that and pivot to make that happen. And then, like Rachel said, cooperate together to make the tools available to really get the word out. And then we have 4 data points, and if they're really not effective, we don't go down the road again. We look at others. Is participation by Zoom at some of these, for example, in the fall available? I mean, there's some other things that we can look at. That I would say, don't throw the concept out yet, but let's pivot with what we learned and try and improve the outcome. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I appreciate that feedback. And again, want to put this in kind of the full picture, which is I think our engagement is significantly higher than it has been in past years. And we've just had a couple of formats that didn't get a lot of turnout. So yeah, John. Oh, sorry.
Either one.
Kirsten, go ahead. You already got 2 words out. Okay. I am not in 2 or 4, but I am in 1. And I reached out to my 2.5 friends and they didn't come. And I reached out to my faith community and I reached out to the housing community, the ones that I have. And I was not successful. I really like where you both were going down the line of, we need to have a plan for each district. Where are the movers and shakers and how can we tag on to them and use their newsletters and say, hey, did you know? I didn't even think about that. I think that's a great thing. Maybe it was in again, my faith-based one, but that's all 122 of us and a half. So I'm with you, Tam, as far as I don't want to give up on something too soon. A lot of times we try something new, we implemented it incorrectly, so we blame the thing, not our implementation. So I think our implementation was faulty, and I take full responsibility for not thinking through of how do I get more people there. You certainly encouraged us. You sent stuff to both of us saying, hey, let's get people out. And I think we all tried. We just, my 2.5 friends didn't show. So I would like us to continue to do it. I would like us to reach out in a more organized, strategic way, and I need help. Because I'm not a strategic person when it comes to relationships, other than my marriage. Okay.
I want to just jump in really quick. It's hard to know exactly where we are on the agenda. We have an hour and 15 minutes till a hard stop. We do have executive session, regional market update, and another presentation by CEO Henson. Maybe final comments on this topic? Go ahead, John.
Thank you, guys. Thank both your comments, Chris, on behalf of yourself and staff, and I think the framing of this conversation at the board level, we're missing an essential, the essential question of scale. And if you think of a typical outreach, a marketing outreach to a population, you would expect a response of between 1% and 2% in general. Roughly 35,000 households. That means you would expect a successful marketing communication to be in the scale of 300 to 700 engagements. I think everything that we're talking about here falls so far below subscale that it's not worth continuing discussion at all. You need to regroup and think strategically about what success looks like. And a key vector of success in communication is, are you achieving that communication and that level of community engagement at a scale that is material, that I would benchmark it at a hard floor of between 1% and 2% of the membership. If you're not doing that, your tactic isn't working. To use your specific example of, I have a faith-based organization of about 100 to 150 people. It is not possible to achieve engagement of 700 people through that vector. Period. Full stop. You don't have the denominator that you need to achieve that scale. And if I multiplied it by 12, and we all approach 100 to 200 people, you still don't have the scale that you need to achieve a successful community engagement program. You have to do it up at the higher level. Period. Full stop. And I would encourage you, Chris, and staff to rethink your strategy with careful attention to, are you operating at a scale that is relevant?
Thanks for that feedback.
You running for?
Well, I'm happy to. I am cognizant of the time, though. I guess I just don't want to get too far down a rabbit hole. We're talking about 2 events out of dozens. We have a comprehensive plan for 2026. We're always trying to learn. We're always trying to get better, achieve scale wherever we possibly can. Happy to continue the conversation, but I mean, we're hearing the feedback, and we'll make some adjustments. We've got a period during the summer where we do less because folks are traveling, and we can retool and get ready for the fall.
One quick data point, just to, because I think it ties into both of these guys' points, is that Tri-State was able to garner maybe 200 people or so at the Farm Bureau meeting where they did a presentation. So I think we can continue with that, adjust to the format to combine and be able to reach a lot of people.
Right. I think another thing to consider is the dynamic that is way different across our areas. September's a really hard time for my area because all the farmers are finishing up for the year. There's some of those dynamics that we need to consider. I did a lot of large advertising for advertisers, and you'd be amazed how happy they would be with 1% or less. You know, you'd be amazed. I'd send out 60,000 mailers, and if they got 38, they would be happy. So anyway, I think it's a great discussion, but there's this dynamic in our community that's way different between South La Plata County, North La Plata County, Archuleta County. It's really different.
Okay, so let's all try to. This is a good discussion and we will revisit it soon. Soon. Thank you. Go ahead. So CEO Hanson now is going to do the regional market update.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I kind of led with the most important piece, which is our wholesale power costs. But I'm pleased to report that our integration into the RTO has gone, I wouldn't say flawlessly, but pretty close. We've getting used to kind of the new billing arrangements. Monica and her team working hard to keep up with kind of the number of invoices, right? Instead of one supplier, we now have 12. And so changes on that side of the house, but I'm pleased to report that we're, I think, in a really good position. We did have a good discussion at FAC about sort of the true-up window. SPP has a 120-day true-up window. We're expecting that to be relatively minor, probably for the non-material types of adjustments as final books are brought to bear. But they do reserve the right for any adjustments up to 120 days. So we're getting used to that. We'll continue to keep the FAC and the board updated on if there are any causes for concern there. But it looks like really just a chance to double check our figures, and our capacity and energy purchases through SPP is really what's happening on that side.
From CFC. They have some great slides kind of talking about what you did. They're looking at the cost of the wires and everything else. I'm more than happy to share that.
Yeah,
with you guys. I can't share it share it with the board.
Yeah, Kohler, thank you. Yeah, I've really been in constant discussions, both with Western United and with CFC, on helping us get a sense of the equivalent of a CPI for a distribution co-op. So CPI is not a good measure for us because it's the wrong basket of goods. So we can see headline inflation in the economy right now is running at about 3% and rising. Our inflation, it turns out, is going to be higher than that because of the factors we just talked about. Tariffs in particular are hitting us hard because we buy metal, and metal is where the tariffs have been concentrated. And then you add to that the spike in energy prices, diesel in particular. And so our basket of goods is drastically different from a consumer. And so CFC has been great because, of course, they're seeing this type of information across the country. And they're working on something I had asked for help with when I first took the job, which is, can you help us create a DCI, a distribution co-op index, that would be our CPI, that would give board members like all of us in the room, all of you in the room, a chance to understand that dynamic. Because, of course, all we see in the Wall Street Journal is CPI. Maybe the PPI, which is a slightly better metric, the producer price index. But I am so glad to have the support of the team at CFC because they are getting data on a national basis that will help us understand that dynamic.
Yeah, and that's presentation they did yesterday, I think, is probably a really good and strong starting point for exactly what you're asking. I'll share that.
Thank you. All right, any other comments on this section? If not, I get to move into the more fun part, which is celebration of our outgoing directors. And John, I wish you were in the room, but we're so excited to be able to present a big thank you, some gifts and tokens of our appreciation on behalf of the members of LPEA to the outgoing directors, Director Landis, Director Lee. Thank you for your long service to this co-op. The countless hours of engagement and bringing your best to these meetings month after month. We do have a few gifts that we wanted to present.
Black, it's a black.
Belt buckle? Belt buckle? He's got one.
I will do. Is there any car keys?
Tesla? Tesla?
Yeah.
May to hold your expectations.
Don't forget Teslas.
All right, you get a car. Well,
Black. Wow.
it's made out of metal, pre-tariff
Wow.
metal, perhaps.
That is by name the biggest I've ever seen it.
But there you go. And just to be clear, this is an LED bulb.
Okay.
Just to be clear. But on behalf of co-ops members, thank you for your service. And give John your same except to have your name on it. As soon as you get back from your trip. And also to mention that as is tradition, we offer also a $500 thank you gift, which the director can choose to donate to a charity or take as a gift. And so that is also part of the outgoing package. And don't forget today to take your name plate. That is also a token of our appreciation.
Thanks, team. Okay, I did this one thing this morning because it's kind of a big day for me. I was like, oh wow, 9 years, wrapping it up. And I was thinking about the why I chose to run for this board, the beginning, and it had to do with looking at as a community member and living in this world where it feels like we don't have much power. Haha, not electric power. But like, what is one thing we can meaningfully do to have any effect at all on climate? And joining your electric utility is one of them, dropping your emissions factor. And so I did some math, and you're gonna need to fact check this because I just used Claude. And I looked at how our grid and emissions have changed. But this was pretty powerful stuff. Assuming I did my math right, what we saved starting April 1st is an average of 204,000 metric tons of CO2. Which is the equivalent of around taking 48,500 cars completely off the road. And that is more than twice the number of registered vehicles in Durango. So think about like, we basically just made this a carless town. I think it's a really big deal.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right, and that concludes my section.
Yeah, well, thank you to both the directors who got us to this moment. And we look forward to your engagement as we continue on the work that you have put so much of your own energy into. Thank you to both of you. Okay, so I'm pivoting between, do we want to finish? I think we need to finish the delegate conversation and then I'm gonna put a timestamp on it. It's 10:57. Let's allot no more than 10 minutes to finishing this. And then we're gonna take a 5-minute break as we go into executive session, and that will give us 45 minutes to complete the executive session. Okay, so where we left off was a motion for Kohler to be the representative pending. He can make it back to the board meeting in time. And then there was a table motion. And that was, well, as you know, the objective is relationship building is and board education, who's the right person for the board to be sending. And then we're hoping you could weigh in on your thoughts on that. And then so we're opening the floor back up. We'll let you comment. I'll open the floor for more board comments. There actually has, I think we can't, just to make sure I understand the parliamentary process. So we're still in motion second. We are discussing the current nomination. We need a vote on that before we would consider any other nomination, correct?
I mean, so I think, yeah, right now we have Kohler nominated, so we would need to vote on that.
Could you suggest amendment to a director?
Somebody could propose an amendment and see if, and sort of back it out to a threshold question of, do we send anyone at all?
Right.
Right.
That was probably the third option. Is Kohler the right person? Is there somebody that is you know, that better fits the objective? And should we send anyone at all?
What is something falling?
No.
Hey, John, mic's on.
John, mic's on. So can I make an amendment to my Graham?
So let's see. You nominated Kohler, right? I think at this point, Yeah.
To send somebody, I said, Kohler, I would like to amend if I'm able to send a director. And that way we can vote on this, do we send anybody or not? And then we can talk about the specifics. Can I do that amendment?
I think you should move to amend.
Okay,
your
I move
motion.
to amend my motion to send a director, not a specific director, to the CFC conference, June 15th to 17th.
And so then we need to. We have,
That's my
okay,
amendment.
so that's been seconded. So we'll discuss whether or not we should amend the main motion.
Okay, and so now can we start with some input? That's the discussion.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That was the.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thanks for letting me add a few thoughts here. So I did attend this meeting last year. I'm planning to attend the meeting this year. Last year it was really about making sure we're in a good spot to finish our transactions with them. And I set up time with the CEO and the CFO and our team that handles our account. I have the same plan this year as we continue our relationship with them, especially on the capital project side. We'll have a continuing relationship with those transactions as we move into 27 and 28. So I've prioritized that. I will be at the meeting. I've set up time with the CEO and the CFO on that weekend, so the 12th and 13th. So just to let folks know, the baseline that is in motion, have that time set up. And so I'm going early to make sure I can do that because we have the board meeting that week and I won't be able to stay late. So I have to make it back in time to join everyone in person for the board meeting. So that's the baseline for your consideration. The meeting itself, I have found to be a bit of a mixed bag. And Kohler was there last year. There's some of the sessions, which I think are pretty good. Some of them I think have very little value. And they have a mix. They bring in, some big name speakers that have nothing to do with the electricity sector because they get people's attention. Happens in conferences all the time. I think very little value for what we're doing. And then I think the other thing I would say is the annual meeting portion of it where they're asking people to vote. Folks, we're not voting on anything substantive. I mean, I will be there if you want me to cast a vote on something in particular, but there are no controversial issues or any major governance issues that are going to be voted on. And so I would heavily discount that portion of your consideration. And so hopefully that helps folks kind of know what my plan is as I prepare for those meetings. Of course, would love to have a director there if the board decides to have someone, and I'll do my best to support their participation. But just want to make sure everybody knows what is currently planned.
Okay, so it's my 5 minutes for discussion. So I will cut it off. Go ahead, Mr. Wheeler.
So I asked to table this for your input, and my question really is, and you've sort of answered that, do we really need somebody there this year, considering we have an important board meeting that conflicts with this, right? Second piece would be not necessarily who is the best person, but should this be done by a position? If this is a key thing in terms of building relationship with a vendor that we're going to have for a long period of time,
yeah.
Should that be the board president or the treasurer or whatever going forward who has an opportunity to build that relationship? I don't know the answer to that. I just feel like that should be asked, and we should deliberate and answer that question versus, whoever wants to go. If this is truly relationship building, it seems to me that we should consider position on the board versus a person with that. So that's it. That's my comment.
Go ahead, Kirsten.
So you're talking about if we have another vote about who we send. What we're talking about right now is if we send somebody. As always, training is very important. Education is very important. This is a great opportunity. I know some of us have been frustrated with some of the NRECA training. I have not been frustrated with any of the CFC training, just attended one online. So I think that is a very important piece. What we've heard is the vote, not so much. But I think being out there, learning what's going on for whoever it is we send, I think is an important aspect. And if we can send somebody, I really think we should. We may not be able to, but I think we should we have a voice. We passed a strategic thing saying that we will have a national impact. This is a national organization, and I don't think we can walk away from that. So I think it's important that we have not just our CEO there, but we have a director, if not a position.
Thank you, Kirsten. Go ahead, Ted.
Yeah, I guess, thank you for that, because it sways my comment a little bit, but I'm still gonna make my comment. What I'm hearing is that there's slightly contrary to your point, Kirsten, there's not much board value here. There might be individual director value, and we have budgets for individual director training that I think, from my opinion, would be more appropriate for attending this particular event. So I would side against sending a director at this point.
Okay. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, I would just sort of echo, there's a difference between sending a delegate for the purposes of a board relationship and somebody wanting to go to get some training. They're welcome to do that, right? Through their own budget, right? I don't think we should necessarily commingle these. So, I go back to my question is, if this is important for relationship building, should we do it as a position? That would settle this for a long period of time. Each year, we would say,
Yeah,
okay, the
totally.
president goes or whatever.
Okay, so I see Kirsten's hand. Is there anyone else who'd like to comment before we keep going back to the same? Go ahead.
I think just the one practical piece on that is that position may not continue literally the day after.
Yeah, right. Totally.
Because that's when we vote for officers. So that's the one trick there.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate the
I do too.
elegant solution, I think, of if it's not really a board value, we have someone there. This is a great education option.
Okay.
Seems to make sense to me.
Anyone else? Okay, go ahead, Kirsten.
So when you were talking about the board relationships, you weren't not necessarily talking about just with CFC. You were talking about with other directors who are also members of CFC. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
So it's not, so Chris is going to have a lot of the CFC stuff. You got to participate last year because Chris drew you in, but you also are talking with, or whoever goes is also talking with a lot of other CFC directors to find out what they're doing, if they're innovating and such. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So then there's
Yes.
board value there in my mind, in your mind also. Checking, thank you, sir.
Okay, so we are kind of at time for this motion currently on the floor, which is just, do we send a,
The current motion is, do we amend the standing motion from sending Kohler to sending anyone, period? So if you vote for the amendment, you are voting to change the underlying motion to voting for anyone. If you are voting against it, then we would revert back to Kohler is the nominee.
okay, so all in favor, does everyone understand what we're voting on?
So failure of this motion reverts to the exit. Correct.
We'll vote to effectively an up-down motion on sending Kohler.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so if you vote for this.
If you vote for this now, then the main motion
And we're
pending
gonna-
before the board is, do we send anyone or do we send no one?
Okay, all in favor of the motion as explained by our general counsel? Okay, so that means.
So now the main motion is, do we send someone or do we send no one?
Okay, all in favor, or do I need to accept a motion or no?
No, that's the motion has been amended to now.
Okay, so do we have any discussion? We've got a minute to discuss. Okay, all in favor of sending someone to this, raise your hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay, all opposed?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay,
Okay.
so that passes. Now we're back to who do we want to send? I will open the floor for a motion on who we want to nominate. Go ahead, Rusty.
I'll nominate Kohler.
Okay, we've got a motion.
Yeah, I'll second.
I nominate a member of the executive.
Okay, I think, can you intercede a motion before there's?
Well, I think we should just maybe at this point open it to nominations, right? So I have a nomination for Kohler, and if we have multiple nominations, we probably would revert to ballot. And
Okay.
so
Okay, we've got a nomination for Kohler, and do you accept the nomination?
I do, but again, with that caveat that the flights might not work out, I might not be able to do it, so I won't miss our board meeting.
Got it.
So that's,
Appreciate that distinction. And then you would like to nominate a member of the executive.
Yeah, board president and treasurer.
You would like to nominate board president, treasurer.
Board treasurer.
Okay. Okay, any other nominations?
Do we need a name to do CFC? Can we do that? Or we have to give them a name or?
I mean, whoever the board president or treasurer would be that whoever current board president or treasurer is. And so, let's see, do I need
Yeah, so we have.
paper around everyone?
And just to make sure I understand the motion, if you say, if you're in favor of Tim's nomination,
Or
you would, that would essentially allow the president to decide if he or she wanted to go. And if not, it would pass down to the treasurer. Is that what you intended?
So the choices are Kohler or executive.
Or
committee.
executive,
That's what we're gonna
yes.
write on the thing, either
Mhm.
Kohler or executive. Okay, thank you. Can somebody fill the space while we're?
We want to use this as a quick bathroom break.
Yes.
Okay. So, yep.
I would just make one other comment, which is no matter how this vote shows up, Kohler is still able to go.
sure. if you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's it. Thank you for that. Okay. All voting is in? Okay.
All right. We have 6 votes for Kohler, 4 votes for a member of the exec committee and 1 abstention. So we have Kohler will be appointed delegate. And then as we sort of discussed a little bit what wasn't part of this vote, do we have any objection to Chris acting as the alternate? He's going to be there, and Kohler has indicated that he might have some travel concerns if it was going to limit him getting back to the in-person June LPEA board meeting. Are there any objections to Chris serving as the alternate? Seeing none. Chris serves.
Okay, thank you, Jean, and thank you, Kohler, for being willing to go and represent the CPA.
The deadline for the hotel is tomorrow.
Yeah, I did see that. Deadline for the hotel is tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, great. And now I would like to move into executive session. Thank you for joining us today.
We could do a quick public update.
Oh, I'm sorry, one public
Legal
update.
matters. Matt Larson gave me a brief update. For public session, we currently have 2 FERC matters and the 10th Circuit matter. The one is our SPP cost allocations. Tri-State, we are coordinating with United and Mountain Parks on that, and that is progressing. There's also a matter about zonal placement of a transmission asset by Basin that we are contesting along with Tri-State and United and several other utilities about where Basin wants this asset placed. And that I will just say Basin has requested FERC confidentiality on that. So any other information about that case going forward will have to be in executive session. And finally, the Tri-State has petitioned the 10th Circuit for an en banc rehearing of the order that was issued the other day. Based on my research of several law review articles, it appears that in the last couple decades, the odds of getting an en banc petition granted in the 10th Circuit is about 1/2%. So that's the only public update I had.
Any questions for the public portion of this attorney update? Yes.
I just want to make a comment that Tri-State petition to join FERC in order to avoid an imminent settlement, or really, I should say, Colorado PUC involved in LPEA. They petition to join FERC, unprecedented and head scratching. And they knew that they were supposed, that they could only do that with by following what FERC would rule on the exit as a tariff. They got the ruling and now continue to appeal it. That, to me, is really hard evidence of why it was so smart for LPEA to they have not dealt with integrity in this issue, and I'm happy to be able to fill them out.
Any other comments or questions? I would like to now open the floor for a motion to move into executive session to discuss the attorney update of FERC related actions, power supply progress, confidential transmission, asset discussion, and storage strategy. Got a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Chris, do you want to let which from your staff members?
Oh, yeah, I know Janelle's got ESC, yeah, I think, yeah, I think Drew and Jerry, probably better with the bar. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, guys. See you soon. And thank you for joining.
We've reached the end of our agenda for the May regular board meeting for La Plata Electric Association. Meeting is adjourned. Yes.
Okay.
Together.
Square.
That's what I realized.